A concept you're very likely to have heard if you talk about theology to any extent is this notion of the God of the gaps. The God of the gaps is oftentimes seen as a logical fallacy. It's not, but it is rather an argument that has an ethos of a very significant suspicion. The God of the gaps argument essentially uses a concept of God to explain things that are not currently understood. And in the past, when people have done this, they have, in every situation, been wrong. Such as, why is there lightning? Well, it's a god. Why is there the sun move across the sky? Well, because of God. Why does, why do we get sick? Because God, that sort of stuff. When in fact we know the physical event today we know the physical event behind lightning, behind the apparent movement of the sun across the sky, and illness and so forth. And from that, whenever someone explains a physical event with a supernatural basis, there's a lot of suspicion. That's the God of the gaps. I want to talk about this idea because I think people misunderstand what really the God of the gaps argument is addressing. You see, the error that people see in the God of the gaps is this. They see an individual use an acceptably unintelligible concept to fill a gap, as the title implies, in their knowledge. Do you see? They take an acceptably unintelligible thing, and they use that to fill a gap of their own ignorance. They say, I don't understand this because it is accounted for by something that is not understandable. But you see, in that light, it's not necessarily God that we're talking about. It's in fact merely superimposing something that is acceptably not understandable to a present day ignorance. And in that way, the suspicion that is warranted towards any claim that uses a God of the gaps argument is actually warranted in far more claims than just use the word God. Because it's not necessarily God. It's the use of an acceptably unintelligible concept. When determinists were asked, how did the universe begin? They said, the entire universe collapsed in on itself, if we were to play the tape backwards, onto a single point and exploded in an instant. This was over the heads of most lay people. The questions of the origin of the universe subsided for a time. They took something that they were not very readily able to understand to fill the gap of the question, how did the universe begin? Not everyone, though. And now even less so, because this theory is taught to children in textbooks. And in this way, it is much more readily acceptable, because they don't know anything else. They don't have any pre-existing worldview to compare it to. And people, both then and now, realize that the Big Bang does not describe the origin of the universe. It rather says that the universe began by already existing as a single point. Today, we hear theories about multiple universes. If the concept of our one universe is not baffling enough, what do you think about the concept of two universes? And in fact, that little point that existed in the Big Bang didn't always exist, after all, but it was rather caused by the bumping together of two universes. And not only are there two universes, there are multi-universes. Multiple universes that give birth to infinitely more universes, all having little umbilical cords, possibly, and existing on multiple dimensions. I wonder if you can predict where I'm going with this. Another very important thing to point out in this kind of conversation is quantum mechanics. Can I see a show of hands of anyone that has written a book on quantum mechanics? No. Anyone that has done research in the fields? And no, reading Wikipedia doesn't count. So often are these things used in conversations that I have with people about the nature of the universe. So often do I hear about quantum mechanics and randomness being the origin of things by people who ultimately don't know what it is that they are presenting. These are people who cover up gaps in their own knowledge with concepts that they don't understand. I want to make a very important point here. I do not think that quantum physicists or other theoretical physicists are in on this secret and that they actively participate in deception as to hopefully keep the masses at bay so that they can preserve their own little worldview. No, I don't think that's the way it works at all. The real minds at work on these concepts are willing to drop it all at an instant when they see the evidence. Evidence that oftentimes they are the only ones smart enough to interpret. So when you people go around and you say, oh, I just need to see the evidence, you wouldn't understand the evidence if it smacked you upside the face. The people at work on the cutting edge of these theories are not saying what they are saying to maintain a worldview that they identify with and get wrapped up about it emotionally when you try to tell them that they're wrong. No. These people are disciplined far more than you and I in mental capacities. What rather we see in the warranted suspicion of a God of the Gaps argument is its perpetuation by lay people who use concepts that they don't understand to account for things that they don't understand.